welcome here. Today is our second week of being back to virtual as we take care of the most vulnerable in our community, realizing that not everyone is able to access the vaccine yet, and so we are taking extra precautions in light of this Omicron surge. We hope to see you all again soon. To all who are here this morning, welcome home.
We appreciate your attention to this morning's announcements. You'll find the announcements in your order of service or on the slides. We have several adult enrichment opportunities coming up. There's going to be an upcoming book discussion sometime in February led by Reverend Julie, and it's The Darkness Divine by Reverend Dr. Kirsten L. Harper. Becky Laurent will lead a decluttering and organizing workshop on February 20th at 11:30 via Zoom. A continuation of the book discussion by Dr. Marianne Plant will be on January 30th, held Showing Up for Each Other's Mental Health by Barbara Myers. And there's a UUCB scavenger hunt, and I guess that's open to everyone, Courtney? Everyone. And you'll have a week to complete that's starting tomorrow, January 23rd through the 30th. And to register, you go to bit.ly at UUCB Goose Chase 2022. And the capital letters are UUCB, G as in goose, and C as in chase. So bit.ly/UUCB Goose Chase 2022. And then you'll get the information on what to scavenger for. On February 6th, there's a meeting, Habitat for Health by Dr. Piacine, and it will be a discussion, it will discuss connections between gardening, habitat creation, and health. And that'll be after service on February 6th. Another Habitat for Humanity build is happening, and it began yesterday. If you're 14 and older, you can sign up. The shifts are normally 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and if you have any questions, reach out to Barbara Kohler. Finally, early registration for SWUUW-CON, and that's the Southwest Unitarian Universalist Women's Conference, is now open, and it ends on January 28th. This is the 35th year, and the theme is For the Beauty of the Earth. It will be March 4th through 6th in Grapevine, Texas, and you can go to swuuw.org. The prelude prepares us for worship. And now for the lighting of the chalice, and if you're lighting your chalice at home, please join me. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This is a chalice of audacious hope. This chalice shines a light in our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideas. And in the spirit of inclusivity, even though everyone's at home, please say hello to each other in the chat features on YouTube and/or Zoom. You are welcome here. If you are straight, gay, lesbian, bisexual, intersexual, demisexual, pansexual, or asexual, or resist labels completely, you are whole and welcome here. If you are transgender, non-binary, genderqueer, or cisgender, you are whole and welcome here. If you're confused about your sexuality, have questions, struggle in an intimate relationship, or struggle because you aren't in one, you are whole and welcome here. If you've had an abortion or an unintended pregnancy, given up a child, had a miscarriage, have AIDS or HIV, struggle with infertility, or sexual dysfunction, you are whole and welcome here. If you've been the victim of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, or a sexual assault, you are whole and welcome here. If you made sexual decisions or had behaviors that you regret, you are welcome here, and we'll help you offer restorative justice and healing. Your sexuality is holy and an integral part of who you are. You are whole and welcome here. As Unitarian Universalists, we will side with you, love you, and fight for your rights. We seek to create a world where sexuality and sexual diversity is celebrated with holiness and integrity.
Good morning. I'm Kate, a member of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support our church, the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today's Share the Plate will be for Alabama Arise, a statewide member-led organization advancing public policies to improve the lives of Alabamians who are marginalized by poverty. Our membership includes faith-based, community, nonprofit, and civic groups, grassroots leaders, and individuals from across Alabama. We appreciate your donations either by placing them in the plate, Courtney, or by using PayPal or Venmo, or by mailing your donation to the church. Our Venmo account is UUCBHAM, that's at UUCBHAM. Please designate whether your offering is for UUCB or for Alabama Arise. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
Now is that time in our community when we share what we carry with us this day, whether joy or sorrow. For those of you who are on YouTube, there is a simultaneous Zoom room going on right now. If you would rather share your joys and sorrows verbally, you can reach that at bit.ly/UUCBHAM, all lowercase. That's where our Zoom room is if you'd like to worship together with our community. For those of you who are online, whether on YouTube or on Zoom, please take a few moments to share your joys and sorrows together and support one another by placing parentheses around the person's name who is lifting up the joy or sorrow as we do this in community. Please take the time to do this now. For those of you who are here in person, helping to ensure our service is continuing, you are invited forward to drop a stone in honor or in memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward. I hope each of you were able to share your joys and sorrows with one another this morning. Today, we celebrate with our preschool teacher, Dr. Shushan Vardanayan, who received an assistant professorship in Texas and will be moving there soon at the end of this month. So if your children were benefited or love Dr. Shushan and you would like to come say goodbye, this afternoon during the OWL class, we invite you to come and give her your best wishes as she and her family travel to Texas for her new position. We have adored having you here, Shushan. Thank you for sharing yourself and your precious son with us. Today we lift up all of those who are affected by COVID in our wider community and also those in our church community. It continues to go around. We hope for good healing for all of you. Please take this moment to hear a spoken meditation followed by a moment of silence. Today's meditation was written by Reverend M. Barclay from the anthology Infleshed. God is not a judge who sits at a distance shaking his finger at us about divine rules and regulations. God is within, like a whisper, like a question, like a knowing and a rising. God lures us toward each other, towards collective flourishing, towards power growing from the margins, towards our roots deep in the earth. God pulls us in every direction that serves love and life. Sometimes that direction is abortion. When a woman or a trans man or a non-binary person with a uterus becomes pregnant and must decide how best to foster life, their own and that of their own family and that of this earth breaking under our burdens, God knows for many there are such few choices available in this racist, classist, cis-sexist system. The God of the fringes, the impoverished, the oppressed, condemns every form of coercion and every act of control over the bodies of those who ask all the right questions of life and autonomy and futures and collective well-being under all the wrong systems that abandon and judge and isolate and weigh down. Let us not grow weary in claiming our power, in professing and practicing our solidarity, in sharing our resources, and in following the one whom from the margins cries, "Come and follow." Amen and blessed be.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, thank you. I just realized no one was going to answer me. Took me a second. Well, I have a story to share with you this morning, and our fabulous tech crew is going to help me out with this to share some pictures with you. This story is called Annie's Plaid Shirt. I'm pretty excited about this one because I do love a good plaid shirt. So, let's begin. Annie loved her plaid shirt. She went to school in her plaid shirt. She went to parties in her plaid shirt. She painted in her plaid shirt. She did everything in her plaid shirt. But one day, Annie's mom said, "Let's go to the mall tomorrow. Uncle Benny is getting married, and your brother needs a new suit, and you need a new dress." "I'll be wearing my plaid shirt," said Annie. "Oh, no, said Mom. "It looks like an old tablecloth. You must wear a dress to this wedding." "Absolutely not," said Annie. "I'm wearing my plaid shirt." "We'll see," said Mom. May have had conversations like this in my household. At the mall, Mom bought Albert a new suit. "Annie," she said, "would you at least try on some dresses for me? Maybe you'll find that you actually like one of them." "Yes," replied Annie. "Please, just this one time." "Okay, fine, if I have to," said Annie. Annie tried on a lot of dresses, but they all felt wrong. "Please," Mom begged, "just one more." Annie saw the hopeful look on her mom's face, so she agreed to try on just one more. "It's perfect," said Mom. "You look beautiful." When they arrived home, Annie ran to her room and slammed the door. She wished Mom understood her Annie felt weird in dresses. She was the happiest when she wore her plaid shirt. Why couldn't Mom see that? Why can't Annie wear what she wants to? Asked Albert. I want Annie to be herself, but I'm worried what other people will think, Mom said. Little girls always wear dresses to weddings. The next morning, they all rushed to get ready for the wedding. Annie frowned at the dress. Then she had an idea. Mom wondered what was taking the kids so long. She started to worry. I should have let Annie wear her plaid shirt, she thought. But it was too late. Come on, kids, she called. We have to leave now. Annie and Albert giggled and yelled, Be right there. Well, said Annie, what do you think? It's perfect, said Mom. You look so beautiful. Of course, said Annie. I'm wearing my plaid shirt. The end. Thank you so much for sharing a story with me this morning.
Our reading this morning is by the Reverend Greta Jo Seedhole, and it was modified for use for Reproductive Justice Sunday. You may have heard the phrase or seen the t-shirt, everyone loves someone who had an abortion. Everyone loves someone who had an abortion. And let's talk about the flip side. If you had an abortion, you are loved. If you've never told a soul, or if you share your story regularly, you are loved. If you are confident in your decision or wonder if it was the right choice, you are loved. If you are queer, non-binary, trans, two-spirit, or a cis woman, you are loved. If you are child-free by choice or want to have kids eventually, you are loved. If your choice was driven by medical viability or your own emotional health, you are loved. If you found a provider to care for you or had to rely on yourself, you are loved. If you were always pro-choice or if your choice conflicts with your beliefs, you are loved. If you love your body or are still angry with your body, you are loved. If you believe God loves you or you believe in nothing divine at all, you are loved. If you find yourself reflected here, or your truth is more than words and ink can post, you are loved. The first meeting of our church's Our Whole Lives program took place on a beautiful Saturday in early January. Our Whole Lives is often abbreviated OWL and is our comprehensive science-based sex education program developed by the Unitarian Universalists and the United Church of Christ together. Because my 7-year-old and my husband were attending the kindergarten through 3rd grade class, and I was facilitating the 7th through 9th grade class with 2 amazing volunteers, our dear 3-year-old Ezio had no choice but to attend Our Whole Lives with his older brother. And in their great wisdom as trained facilitators, Courtney and Melissa taught my children a new version of the popular children's song, Head, Shoulders, Knees, and Toes, where you replace toes with the names of any other body part. It was a successful lesson in my household for sure. Both boys have sung that song daily for weeks. And while the song is pretty funny to hear, after all, we aren't embarrassed about our bodies in this church. We want our children to understand their bodies, respect each other's, and have agency over their own bodies. It is really important to us as parents and really important to us as a congregation. This language over body agency has really transformed in the past couple of years. While traditionally the chant, "My body, my choice," has sounded from the women's healthcare movement, it has been co-opted by the anti-masker movement. Anti-maskers chant, "My body, my choice," for the same reason. They don't believe the government exists to control our personal choices over our bodies. Unless, that is, it comes to the bodies of people with uteruses. Then suddenly, those bodies become the conversation for all Americans who feel they have the right to share their opinions, their prejudices, their religious beliefs with every person considering a medical procedure. Let me be clear. It is no one's business what a person with a uterus decides to do about a condition that can still, in 2022, result in the pregnant person's death. We hope their decisions are safe for them and supported by their community. This Sunday, Unitarian Universalists all over the globe are joining together to call for reproductive justice. The term reproductive justice was coined in 1994 by a group of Black women activists to emphasize the necessity of placing reproductive rights and health in a broader social justice network. What that means in practice is that we can't divorce the battle for abortion rights and reproductive health care from struggles against racism, economic inequality, homophobia, and transphobia, because these things also affect whether and how people are able to make decisions about their bodies, their families, and their lives. Reproductive justice also means that those who choose to parent should be able to raise their children in safe and healthy surroundings, free from violence, discrimination, and environmental pollution. In my words, reproductive justice places value on the children who are already born and in need of love and support, but it is so much more than that. Thankfully, before this pandemic descended upon us, Planned Parenthood and other abortion providers were already deciding to move away from using the term pro-choice, because pretending it's a choice when not all women have the choice due to a lack of clinics or supportive communities is limiting. Pro-choice implies classism and privilege. Instead, we talk about how most Americans, 70% of Americans, believe that abortions should be safe and legal. Regardless of whether or not you would choose to have an abortion yourself, we don't want people dying from abortions in back alley clinics. And we don't want to live in a fascist dictatorship where it is illegal to have a medical procedure to prevent your own death. Safe and legal, that's all we ask. Alabama Arise, our January Share the Plate recipient, is one of those groups fighting similar legislation in Montgomery. Another group worthy of note is the Yellowhammer Fund, which, as it says on their website, the Yellowhammer Fund envisions a society in which reproductive decisions are made free from coercion, shame, or state interference, a society in which individuals and communities have autonomy in making healthy choices regarding their bodies and their futures. We commit ourselves to community education and empowerment, policy advocacy, and the development of systems of mutual aid to ensure that our friends, families, and neighbors never go without the things they need. Knowing these resources in the upcoming months may come in handy. If you are ever considering your choices in the midst of a pregnancy, I am always available as a conduit to care. The one objection I've heard from UUs around the abortion issue is whether the sperm donor to the fertilized egg should have a say in its development. What we teach in OWL is that all members of the relationship have equal say and consent. And we teach how important it is to have those discussions around what you would do if that egg is fertilized before the relationship further develops. That's the ideal world, and it doesn't always happen that nicely. Ultimately, the uterine choice is at least half the decision, because that person is the one taking all of the risks to their life by continuing the pregnancy. The truth is, abortion's tie to religion and morality did not exist for a long time in this country. Leslie Reagan, a professor of history, medicine, gender, women's studies, and law at the University of Illinois, wrote about this history in her book, When Abortion Was a Crime. She discovered that the first colonists encouraged abortions before the quickening, or that moment when the person feels the movement of the fetus. Believe it or not, even the Catholic Church didn't object to abortions before the quickening. Reagan writes, rather, the popular ethic regarding abortion and common law were grounded in the female experience of their own bodies. The religiosity around abortions wasn't even the primary reason for abortions to be outlawed in the 1880s. Physicians were concerned that untrained abortion providers would cause more women to die during the procedure. Abortion was seen as a dangerous medical practice, not a religious crime. We are in the midst of an age where we are moving referred to as a religious crime and considering it a diagnosis and treatment for a condition that is the patient's business. Ironically, the American Medical Association, the same institution that worked to outlaw abortion in the 1880s, is now providing amicus briefs to the Supreme Court against the Texas law, because the American Medical Association does not believe politicians should be making medical decisions. Some of you may be asking, why are we talking about such a sensitive and political issue at church? Yesterday was the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court decision, and the court currently has two major cases in its docket to decide whether to overthrow Roe v. Wade and outlaw this medical procedure. with a heavily conservative court, thanks to Mitch McConnell's hypocrisy, many who believe that abortion should be safe and legal are terrified that abortions are about to become illegal again. With the filibuster still in play, there is no hope of passing the Equal Rights Amendment, guaranteeing that women are equal to men in our country, or an amendment to protect women's health care. Many of us are despairing about the future of our health care. We are worried about our friends and family who may need access to these services. We are worried for survivors of incest, survivors of rape, survivors of violence. And we are angry that in 2022, our government does not legally believe that we are equal to men, or even represent us. There is no she in the Constitution. I cannot state enough how important this is that our allies, specifically men, join us in this fight for equality. One of the things I love about this church is that the men in this church adore and respect and fight for women's equality. I have not once felt slighted by the gentlemen in this church. It is very affirming. Everyone without uteruses needs to be a part of the support to ensure these rights and be an ally in the struggle with us. As Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Last week, I attended a webinar on reproductive justice where we learned about the intersections and lenses in this work. And we heard from another UU church in Texas about how they are working to help pregnant people access abortions. At first, they arranged buses to neighboring states so that women could arrange for those services, but what they discovered in all of these intersections is that most people cannot disappear for a week without their job or their family noticing, and suddenly a private decision becomes very public. So they decided, our sister church, that they would raise money for airline tickets so that they could fly the women directly to where they needed to access care and fly them back 48 hours later, depending on the state laws. Many of our UU churches have stocked up on Plan B as a practical plan just in case. In the coming weeks, our church may have to decide how we want to be a part of this movement. We are, after all, ruthless in our pursuit of justice. And we must take into account the disparities among women and people with uteruses. Indigenous women have an impossible time finding access to an abortion because of the Hyde Amendment, which prohibits federal money spent on abortion services. Yet, Indigenous women already suffer from the highest rates of rape and sexual assault. They are also twice as likely to die in pregnancy than white women. These disparities must be accounted for. We must find a solution. I cannot promise a rosy tomorrow. I myself have a lot of anxiety about what is going to come down from the Supreme Court this upcoming week or in the coming months. There is a pervasive belief that Amy Barrett is preparing to do the job she was appointed to do. She, who has not earned 3 names, and her colleagues want to overturn a 50-year-old law, which was merely reinstating what our ancestors thought was a necessary and vital function for society to conserve its resources. What I can promise is that whatever happens, we will figure it out together. What I can promise is that I will be there right beside you, marching the good march, speaking truth to power, publicly promising that I will be a conduit of the health of all people with uteruses, even though I personally don't have one anymore. I'm no longer one of the affected, but I can still be an ally, which all of us can be. Join us as we continue the good fight for all people to have agency over their own bodies. Future generations will thank us for our courage. We will overcome together.
And now for the extinguishing of the chalice. Seek for the spirit of life that is within you, that you might know more fully its power and strength. Seek for the spirit of life that surrounds you, that you might know more fully its connection to you. Seek for the spirit of life that is within others, that you might enter more fully into the community that embraces us, this day and every day.
We Unitarian Universalists who have long been known to be a bit too much in our heads have been moving toward a more authentic recognition of our bodies, a more genuine relationship with our bodies and in our bodies. Hallelujah and blessed be. These bodies are homes. These bodies are being. These bodies without which we can neither have inherent worth nor recognize it in others. These bodies without which we cannot experience the interdependent web of all existence, for it is through our bodies that we are part of the selfsame web. We pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to the great collective liberation of all bodies. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to do all that we can to protect against gendered violence against all bodies, known and unknown, near and far, stranger and friend. Let us pledge ourselves, the whole of ourselves, to inhabit these bodies, to honor these bodies, to celebrate these bodies, and to defend these bodies. So be it. See to it. Amen.